guys, that's your convention today, Raid Shadow Legends. Welcome to the video. Send us some love, some positive vibes your way, especially if you need it out there today. Today, we have this community tab poll that I posted about a week ago. Now we have 23,000 of you guys voted. 68% of you, that's over 15,000 of you guys, do not have Lydia the Deathsiren. So I thought what I'm trying to do here, here in 2024, we're 5 years in on covering Raid Shadow Legends. I want to A, play to my strengths, and B, provide, in no particular order, provide you guys the best content I possibly can to help you progress in the game and some entertainment as well. Like I want to keep doing the nuke off videos and the build random champion videos and all the usual stuff that you guys like here. But one of my biggest strengths in the game, right? I'm not the cutting edge strategist, right? I'm not developing the best Hydra clan boss teams in the game or anything like that. I'm not speed tuning teams. That's not my strength. But what I do know, I feel like, with the best of them out there is every single champion in the game, because I have most every champion in the game. Not only do I have them though, I've built them all.
What do you do for a living?
Because I'm trying to do a guide on every 1,000 champion on my champion guide channel. So I've built and I've used them, a lot of them, right? Not all, but close to. So what I want to do in today's video is give you, from playing all of these epics and a lot of these rares and some of the legendaries, I want to give you the best free or accessible champions, or just some shout outs to some champions that might not be free or farmable, but they're epics or rares, so they're a little bit easier to get your hands on than legendaries. Moreover, I want to talk about the essential roles that I look for when trying to complete your faction wars to get your hands on Lydia the Deathsiren. So Lydia will be an absolute game changer when you get her, and even if you do have Lydia and you're watching this video, first of all, thank you.
I don't have anything else to do.
But maybe we'll still get you to look or take a second look at some of these champions that might be in your vault, right? That I actually really love. Lydia's going to be a game changer when you get her. Obviously, it's a 3-star every single stage and every single faction war. You guys know how to get her. It's just a matter of getting her, right? So she'll be insanely good. I mean, she's one of the better champions out there. She's got this Siren's Wail, which is arguably one of the best buff debuff, or the best buff debuff abilities in the game, because it's all in one skill. The decreased defense, the weaken, the strengthen, and the increased speed, all in one ability. It's bonkers. And then, of course, the lockout on the A3 and the deny revival on the passive. Now, it also strikes me that especially newer players, if you're focused on Hydra and not focused on faction wars, you might get Mithrala before Lydia. Mithrala is 1A and 1B in terms of the biggest game changers that you can just go after, right? You can just slowly but surely start to make progress in collecting them. So if you already have Mithrala, obviously Mithrala is going to be the easy answer in Dark Elves to get your to easily clear Dark Elves faction wars. Just figured I'd mention that out the gate. Let's start in Bannerlords, guys. Bannerlords I look at as, there's no easy or difficult faction, because at this point, all factions of the game have revivers. Back in the day, there were no revivers unless you had like an OP legendary, and it was a struggle. Now at least there's more puzzle pieces that you can have at your leisure to put together to make some of these teams, right? So Bannerlords, I don't want to make this a 5-hour video like I'm known for.
I don't know you, but congratulations.
So I'm just going to pick out some of my faves. It's not to say there's not going to be other great champions in all of these factions, right? So obviously a lot of you guys have Rathalos. He's going to be a great nuker, but I don't want to be super, super focused on nukers, because I feel like damage you can find anywhere. So I really want to focus on revivers, support, debuffers, like those categories as we go through here. So we're not going to be super legendary focused unless they're absolutely free for everybody.
Disgusting.
So obviously that's not going to be the case for Bannerlords. Bannerlords I look at as an easier comparatively to some of the other faction wars out there. Some of my faves: Gizkar the Sigiled. This dude has a provoke, he has increased defense, and an increased attack. Getting through those waves, Gizkar's got you covered, keeping you alive when you get to the red boss with the increased defense, and min-maxing your damage out of your nukers with the increased attack. Well, he's got the full package, right? Fills his champion's turn rate by 15% whenever he's attacked by an enemy under provoke 2 or an increased attack. Helps him keep things moving, and then most importantly, he has a defensive and faction crypts as an aura. He's a very good, especially a good faction war champion. Ulfric, Really like this dude. I know I always say it, but I'm going to say it again, damn it. This dude looks like a common champion. Whoever was in charge of designing this guy at Plarium was like, oh crap, I forgot my assignment. Here's a common champion that I had built and ready to go. Use him instead. Poor Ulfric. I will say though, he has a freaking banger cape. Look at the intricacy in that design on the cape. What he makes up for in the front, he makes up for it in the back. Huh?
Because I hate getting out of bed, so I will find any excuse to stay.
Shut up!
Anyway, Ulfric's really cool. He's got an AoE where he's stealing buffs. He's got a continuous heal for your team. He's got a turn meter boost for your team. And he's got an increased attack for your team, right? He really is kind of the all-in-one type package from a champion. He's better than his kit might first read to you guys. I actually really like Ulfric. He can deal some damage too for a support, so you can help him, you have him help you carry some of the DPS. Archmage Helmet is a free champion. You can farm from completing Doom Tower normal secret rooms. You guys know that, right? He's the first dude you get, and he's a really good one. He's one of the best you get, right? He and Dark Kale, I would say, are the two best out of the normals. Maybe Ryan too. Anyway, he's got increased speed, increased crit rate, increased crit damage, and then an AoE stun as well. He also has speed in arena, which isn't really going to help you, but he's got it. He's got it. Other shout outs here. My faves. Lady Annabelle. I just released a whole video on the Lady in Red. Oof, that was awful. Lady in Red. That was awful too.
Please, don't do it again.
The Lady in Red. Lady Annabelle is the GOAT. She's amazing. She can solo content. She's got an AoE leech and AoE decreased speed, provide the turn meters lower than 50%, but you know, it will stick eventually. I love decreased speed. I say it like every other video. It's one of my favorite debuffs in the game. It's such a difference maker. Sanguine Exchange, you know, you can swap HP with an ally, keep them alive, which is very helpful, but she has an increased speed on all allies for 2 turns as well on this ability, and then she's very tough to kill because of the Red Lady passive. I really, really like Lady Annabelle. And then I would say, I mean, I'm not going to cover too many Voids who are not available, but Ursula's the best AoE reviver out of every epic champion in the game, with all due respect to Tagore, who's my favorite AoE reviver out of every epic. But just the revive skill, she's got it. She also has a decreased attack, increased attack on the same ability. A lot of books required for her, but she's arguably worth it, even though this is absolutely ridiculous. You know, that's gonna need more than a library card to book her out. It's that's bonkers. But either way, she is worth it. I did want to give a few, or actually one, I guess. I was gonna say a few rare shout outs. Want to give one. She's campaign farmable, and her name is Valerie. Valerie's pretty good, you know. You can run her even all the way till the end of Faction Wars, but she does taper off when you get to the final floors. The good news is she's fairly tanky with over 1,000 defense for a rare. And again, she's campaign farmable. I forget the stage. You can check it out, but you can get her in the campaign easy enough. The reason I like her, she has a shield, you know, on a 5-turn cool. That's a decent shield, but it's a 5-turn cooldown. It's not going to be great. She does have a heal on that shield as well. So Protect does just that. Keeps your team alive. She has HP and faction crypts. You can use her as her aura lead as well, and she's free. But the Energizing Presence, if you pair her with a bunch of buffers, like an Archmage Helmet, she can increase the duration of all buffs on all allies by 1 turn, decrease duration of all debuffs on all allies by 1 turn, a mini cleanse, and the increased attack. And this is on a 3-turn cooldown. So that Energizing Presence, a very strong ability from a rare champion. She's one of the best campaign farmable rares in the game. So that would get you on a very great start. I would build my team around those champions, including as many as I could. Obviously, Stag Knight is arguably the best Bannerlord epic, and I'm sure you guys already know that if you have him. High Elves. Yannicka is available in the clan shop. She's a damage dealer, but she's a very good damage dealer, okay? As I said, I would not prioritize damage dealers in Faction Wars because they're kind of a dime a dozen, you know? And even your supports can put out damage vis-a-vis War Master. Oftentimes when you're trying to get Lydia, when you're trying to make progression, you know, if you're sitting with a team full of nukers, it's not going to be incredibly helpful. No one's going to keep them alive, right? But Yannicka is a bit different. Again, you can farm her in your clan shop, right? And she's really good. She has a perfect veil, so it keeps her alive. And then when she's under veil, she takes an extra turn. You can AoE on the A1. She has leech as well. Leech is very helpful to keep her team alive, kind of like a little mini built-in lifesteal for everybody, right? And then she has another hard-hitting AoE on the A3. Definitely worth going for if you do need that nuker. Obviously, Arbiter. Well, Arbiter is an Arbiter mission. Well, an Arbiter mission? Arbiter's an Arbiter mission, Ash? She's a mission champion champion, you can just go for her, right? She's going to help you out in the arena, but she's very good in Hydra. And of course, she's very good in Faction Wars. She's a reviver, takes an extra turn after she revives, speed booster, increase attack and heals, and debuff decreasing, right? So she's the full package. She's going to be amazing. High Elves, I see as, again, an easier faction war comparatively, because eventually you'll get these, these legendary helpers, so to speak, along the way. Royal Guard, Tyrell are both really solid, but I want to focus on Skaramis. Skaramis is the GOAT. I think Skaramis is one of the best epics in the game. People sleep on this dude, and it's ridiculous. He's so good. He's better, and I know this is thrown around a lot, but he's better than a lot of legendaries. He's got an AoE provoke on a 3-turn cooldown. That's not something we see on epics that often, right? There's one rare that has it, Gnarlhorn, right? And there's not that many epics that have 100% provoke on a 3-turn cooldown. But he also has a counterattack and a continuous heal, okay? He also has an AoE, decrease the duration of enemy buffs, and a decrease attack, and a turn meter fill for each buff that has its duration decreased on a 3-turn cooldown. He can deal a little bit of damage. He can keep himself alive. He's an HP-based champion with a decent amount of survivability. He's got the provoke. He's got the counterattack, the continuous heal. The counterattack stuns them. So he provokes them. They attack him when they're provoked with their A1. They just attacked him, so they have no turn meter. So read this. Stealing 50% of the target's turn meter. Has a 30% chance of placing a stun for 1 turn if the target's turn meter is fully depleted by this skill. Well, they just attacked him with the A1, right? Because they just took a turn. So on the counterattack vis-a-vis the A3, he's coming in there. He's stealing what little turn meter they do have. And then he has that 30% stun. He's helped me out tremendously in Curse City and Centrano, Soulcross, and Faction Wars. He's a real GOAT, man. He's very, very good. And even the A1, just for the turn meter steal alone, is useful, even if he doesn't have the counterattack, but the counterattack just makes it better, right? Okay, who else here do we have that I strongly recommend for Vergis? He's just like a protector GOAT. I think he's probably tied with Taragi the Frog, as the best epic ally protector off the top of the dome. Maybe I'm forgetting somebody out there, but those would be the first two that come to mind. He's got an ally protection on a 3-turn cooldown. He's got amazing survivability. He has more to him than just that, but I'll be here all day if I go over everybody's kit, fully. Vergis is very, very good at just keeping your team alive, right? There's plenty of other great options here to consider as well. I already shouted out Royal Guard and Tyrell. Tyrell has really good control on his A3. Preemptive Strike is very, very good. A lot of people look at the AoE, decreased defense on the A2, and they think, nah, 4-turn cooldown, not for me. Preemptive Strike is really good. Decreased target's turn meter by 50%. If it's fully depleted, it will stun them for 2 turns. 2-turn stun, very good, exceptionally good control, and debuffs from Tyrell and his defense base, easy to keep alive. Neldor Rhineblade, triple hitter with the freeze, quadruple hitter with decreased attack, decreased accuracy, and an AoE ×2 with decreased speed on a 4-turn cooldown. Yeah, hell yeah, he's very good. Very good against the red boss. Throw him in a Giant Slayer Mastery as well for extra damage. He's got great debuffs. He's got great control as well to help you win the waves. Ethlin the Golden. I mean, there's a lot of good ones, a lot of new good ones, right? This guy's really good. He's really good. He's got an AoE ×2 with block active skills. He's got True Fear if they're not under block active skills. He's got a shield on the A1. He's got an increased crit damage, increased accuracy with the extra turn, which allows you to come in and essentially get back to paralyzing strike sooner than a 4-turn cooldown. He's good. He deals some damage as well. Nice damage dealer. But I wouldn't say he's as essential as maybe a Skaramis or a Vergis personally. Last shout out here is Andrissia. Sorry, I know I'm giving you guys a lot of options, but I want to talk about these champions because, well, I feel confident about these champions, right? I feel like they're really going to help you guys out.
Don't be overconfident.
Got a stun here. It's a 2-turn stun on Mind Prison. Again, is a very, very good ability. She has an AoE with decreased duration of enemy buffs by 2 turns. Not only can this evade polymorph in the arena, she's a very good arena champion. She's a very mini Nekret the Great, but this is very good. You don't have to deal with polymorph. Increased duration of increased defense on all allies by 1 turn. It's a nice little add-on. It's on a 3-turn cooldown. And then Heartstrong. At the start of each turn, we get an ally protection for 2 turns in the ally with the lowest max HP, right? So that's why I say she's a mini Nekret the Great. Also has a strength and an increased defense on this champion for 2 turns. Okay. Apothecary, obviously, he's still got it. You know, after all these years, he's still got it. He's got the critical heal on a 2-turn cooldown. He's got the increased speed, the turn meter fill, and a triple hitter on his A1, right? He also has defense in dungeons, not going to help you out in faction wars, but it's a nice defensive aura for a rare champion out there. And then I will say that if you're struggling a bit with the waves, you know, I think mostly the red boss presents the biggest challenge, you know, in these levels. But Elhain, even though she's a starting champion, in a stun set, particularly with 2 AoEs in her kit, she can be a good damage dealer and controller in a stun set. And then last but not least, probably the best support rare in the game, Reliquary Tender. There's no way to get her for free or anything like that, but eventually you will get your hands on her. I mean, this Tender's Watch is really one of the best rare abilities out there. It's, if not the best next to Heartseeker, you know? It's a full cleanse with a big version of continuous heal on a 3-turn cooldown. She can also revive onto that. There's no rare like her in the game to this day. Sacred Order time. All right. Do we have any legendaries that are accessible that can help you guys? Not really, unless you want to sacrifice 8 legendaries to get Sir Nick in the shop, in the life token shop, which I would not recommend at all. Okay. Sacred Order. Let's start with Canoness. Yeah, that's right. Canoness. She's actually really good. She got a big buff. She hits very hard, too, for a defense-based, supporty type champion. She's got a decreased accuracy and a leech on a 3-turn cooldown. The attack is always critical. Okay, it hits pretty hard, which is nice. And then Stalwart Guardian. Ally Protect on the target for 2 turns. It's only 1 target, right? But you also have a big version of increased defense on herself and a continuous heal on everybody. Big version on a 2-turn cooldown. It makes her one of the low-key best healers out there, and she has the speed and faction crypts. A lot of people sleep on Canoness. As I said, she got a big buff about a year ago, but she's still kind of relegated to faction wars, but she's very good at faction wars. All right, keep going here. We have, I think that Sanguinia can be great. She has block debuffs and a continuous heal and a cleanse, okay? So good option there. We have Mordecai. I said I'm not really keen on damage dealers, but Mordecai is great because he's got a decreased turn meter of all enemies and a turn meter fill of allies. So some control in there on top of an AoE burn with an increased attack on all allies for 3 turns on a 4-turn cooldown. So Mordecai is very, very good. Who else here? Obviously, Deke is going to be a go anywhere in the game. He's one of the best epics out there. You know, if you have him, you're probably going to be using him. You probably already know that. Fenax is one of my favorite damage dealers in this faction. Really one of my favorite epic damage dealers. And he's going to deny revival on his A1, a very hard-hitting A1. He's one of the top 10 hardest-hitting A1s in the game. So that's pretty dang good for an epic champion, right? He also has an AoE block active skills. And I should mention, he's a great debuffer for the red boss. He's got decreased speed and decreased defense, granted on a 4-turn cooldown single target, but they're the big versions of those abilities. So he has a very robust kit that can help you out in a lot of different ways. Godseeker Aniri is, I think she's the best single target reviver out of every epic in the entire game. She's got the single target revive, resetting the cooldown of all abilities, and then the emergency revive, so she can essentially have 2 revives. She's got a heal. She's got increased duration of buffs. She's got the whole package. She's a void epic. She's hard to get. Definitely going to be worth it for you guys. There's a few other decent ones, like these 2 right here. You can absolutely get by with them. I think it is Anchorite, who I like a little bit more. Removes 1 random debuff from all allies, increase the duration of all ally buffs by 1 turn, and then I got a fully heal, increased crit rate, and increased damage on all allies. He's an interesting champion, right? He's not like game breaking, but he can definitely be a significant part of support on your team, right? Keep everybody healed, alive, doing well. I love Aethel as well. I hate to keep pointing out the starting champions, but she can definitely get the job done. She has an extra turn mechanic, ergo bringing this down to essentially a 2-turn cooldown in some situations, and then a triple hitter with a big version of Weaken. Big version of Weaken can be hard to get on your teams, so she's the most reliable way. It's a 100% chance of placing it on each hit. She's gonna freaking land it on the red boss to get that Weaken on there. Very, very good in that regard. Anybody else here who I'd recommend? Somebody's needy. Not really. Looking at you, buddy. No way. No way. Draconis is decent for a shield champion, and obviously Armiger still got it. He's an uncommon. That's right, an uncommon. common. You can pull him from mystery shards. He has turn meter control, and he has a hard-hitting 2-turn cooldown, enemy max HP, and he's defense-based. He's easy to keep alive. He's going to help you out tremendously against the red boss. Barbarian time, guys. All right, Syl the Drakes, my girl, Silly. Silly, did I just call her Silly?
Why do you want to die?
I'm sorry about that. Syl the Drakes, I mean, one of the better healers out there in the game with this passive. She got the stun for control. She got the revive. She got the decreased speed, as well as turn meter. She's great against the red boss. She's great against revivers. She's great against waves. She's great at healing. She's going to help you out absolutely everywhere. She's one of the best. Barbarian is... Syl the Drakes makes Barbarian Faction Wars so much easier when you actually have her, right? In terms of Barbarian epics, I love Fat Man, ally attacker. He's got the burn as well for the red boss. Anybody else there's not a ton. Wood Paint is a competent healer. High Katoon we all get on day 30 of this game. To get turn meter fill, she's got an increased speed, kind of like a beefed up version of Apothecary. She also has an AoE decreased turn meter, so more control in her kit, as well as a decreased speed on the A1. Vala actually is really serviceable for Faction Wars, right? She's very tanky, over 1,400 in the defense. She's removing shields from enemies, then attacks them. She has a 50% chance of placing a decreased defense, but it's the big version on a 3-turn cooldown. And she's a defense-based debuffer. Very hard to find defense-based debuffers that are not legendaries, like a Ragash, for example. Vala has that, right? She's good for Faction Wars. She does taper off a little bit in the end game outside of that, but she's very competent as a debuffer, damage dealer, and kind of keeps herself alive very, very well. Hoskarul is one of the better ones out there. He's tanky too because he's a defense-based champion. He's got an AoE stun, 75% stun on a 3-turn cooldown with decreased turn meter. This dude's going to help you out controlling anything and everything, okay? He's got to increase defense and an increased resist on all allies for 2 turns as well on a 4-turn cooldown. So it can be a great buffer for your team, and he has defense and faction crypts as is an aura, right? Hoskarul and a stun on the A1 too. He's going to be one of the best options that you can get for Faction Wars. And last but not least, I'll give it to Skytouch Shaman. Really one of the best epic healers in the game, guys. Believe it or not, she's a very weird kit. She does have an AoE with a heal. And then she has a cleanse, block debuffs, and revive on death. It's really a mini cardial, minus the ally attack part. Mini cardial ability, right? Immortal Skies, very similar, except for the no protected revive on death and on a 4-turn instead of a 3-turn. And with the heals. Her passive can be annoying to deal with, but she definitely makes up for it. She has HP in all battles, so you can use her in other areas of the game as well. When we look at the Barbarian rares, War Maiden is the best debuffer out of every rare in the game, and she's campaign farmable in stage 9, I want to say. So definitely get your hands on her. You'll be using her everywhere, even into the end game in secret rooms, in Cursed City, etc. Soulbound Boyer is one of my favorite. I think she's a top 5 rare in the game. She's one of the best control rares in the game because she has an AoE on her A1. You can put her in a stun set to help you through any sort of stun content. She also has a hard-hitting infused arrow on the A2 and a 100% turn meter decrease on the A3. Very good control, very good damage, and it's easy to build her for damage because all of her abilities has an additional 25% chance of inflicting a critical hit on all 3 of her active skills. Very, very good. Marked. I have to shout out Marked too. Marked is also a very unique rare champion in that she has not only an AoE decreased accuracy, which is nice. She has a decreased defense, which is nice as well. Granted, it's the weak version, but she just have it at a high rate on her A1. But most importantly, she has block debuffs and increased defense on a 3-turn cooldown. Very, very powerful buffing ability. It's hard to even find block debuffs at all from epics, let alone having both of those on the same ability. So Marked is very, very good. Shield Guard is serviceable as well. He's a defense-based uncommon champion who has an AoE that fills his own turn meter, right? And he also has a decreased speed on the A1, granted the weak version, but he's easy to keep alive for an uncommon, and he's easy to get. Same thing with Zephyr Sniper. I can't believe I mentioned 3 uncommons so far, but she's good too. She's a defense-based. She's got a boatload of defense. She's got an AoE on the A1, so in a stun set, she'll be very serviceable, and she has a little continuous heal on the A2. I wouldn't recommend Zephyr Sniper and Shield Guard for higher stages, like 20 plus, but you definitely could use them if you wanted to. I do think they taper off a bit towards the end game, or towards the final levels, I should say. Ogryn Tribe, guys. Who do we have for legendaries here? No one who you get for free except for Gerda.
Nothing in this country is free. So,
Gerda's actually, I can't believe I'm saying this. Try not to dislike and click off the video. But Gerda's not as bad as people say she is. She's really not. She's got an AoE with a weaken. She's got a removing buffs. She's got poison on enemies. She's removing debuffs on allies. She's actually doing quite a lot, and her kit is a lot better than people give it credit for. However, by the time that you get her, you probably have already beat Ogryn Faction Wars. Reason being is because Ogryn just gives you a lot of semi-accessible, very good champions like Rush the Mangler. He's a login reward who's a very good healer. Look at all this continuous heals and all this stuff. A good debuffer, decrease attack or decrease crit damage, and a good damage dealer. 2 strong AoEs from a defense-based nuker. He hits just as hard as Hoskarul. Hoskarul and Rush the Mangler are 2 of the best defense-based damage dealers in the game, and think about everything else they bring to the table as well, right? So a lot you can get out of Grush. Obviously, Man-Eater with the unkillable, with the block debuffs, with the full turn meter depletion, and the decreased attack on all enemies. Man-Eater, we think of him as a one-dimensional unkillable champion. Couldn't be further from the case. Obviously, that's one of his best use cases, but he has a very, very good kit on his A1 and his A2 as well. There's a lot of good ones here. Ugo, Claude, Skull Crusher, Shatterbones. Shatterbones has an AoE decreased speed. He has an AoE decreased turn meter. Very, very good. Seize is good. Skrank is good.
It's Skronk.
It's an HP burner. This is why I said the Ogryn Tribe, odds are you guys don't have massive issues. Siege Hulk, great debuffer, incredible damage dealer, one of the best epics in the game. There's a lot of options there. Even Wuzgar has a reflect damage, a shield, a heal, a counterattack on himself, which leads to a quadruple hitter on the A1. Uragrim has continuous heals. He's got a cleanse. There it is. He's got poisons. He's got speed in all battles by 20%, right? So I could go on and on here. There's some that I didn't even mention, but there's a lot of very, very good Ogryn Tribes. Even Grimskin I like. He's a defense-based nuker. He's got a 2-time hitter with a provoke on the A2, an AoE with removing buffs on the A3s. He's to keep alive. He's got decreased speed on his A1. Yeah, there's a lot of good ones out there. Even Galkut. I mean, I could just keep going. There's so many good ones. But I do have to mention, obviously, 2 rares. Belluar is going to be one of your best friends for everything in this game. He's a jack of all trades, master of none. He's got AoE. Actually, he's probably the master of what? Control or campaign farming. He's got so many debuffs. He's going to be instrumental to Ogryn Tribes. He's got 3 AoEs. He's very, very good. Gear Grinder has a heal. My man's got a revive. He's kind of got it all. He's got a continuous heal on his A1. If you're looking for a reviver, look no further. Lizardmen time, guys. We have no legendaries that are very, very easy to get. Actually, Rosin Fusion, he's worth going for. Listen, he needs to be buffed. I don't like his speed being this low. I don't like the cooldown being this high on the A3, but he's still got great control, and he's going to be one of your best debuffing options in the game with a decreased defense and weaken on the A2 and a triple hitter removing random buffs on the A1. He can control waves, and he can debuff against the boss. Jareg is a good ally protector, increased defense, granted on a 4-turn cooldown, a little bit of power creep there, but he's still got it. He's still solid. He's got the big version decreased attack on the A1. He's got a little bit of a heal, continuous heal, I should say, to help keep your allies alive. And he's nice and tanky. You could throw him in a shield set, a bolster set, etc. We have... I think the Venom Mage is solid everywhere. I think the Aox is solid everywhere. Basilisk and a stun set can be serviceable. But Broadmaw is a permanent fusion in the game, right? Broadmaw can revive. Broadmaw can add a increased speed on all allies and a turn meter fill. It's a weak version, but it's still a pretty dang good kit, Increased crit rate, increased speed. You're not going to be able to get all your champions to crit rate, 100%, especially some of not your main damage dealers. It's going to help out in that regard, help out your speed, revive 2 random allies on a 4-turn cooldown, and he has some control, a freeze on the A1. And he's a permanent fusion in the game, right? People forget about that. I would definitely go for him if you're struggling, right, in Lizardmen. Skathix has a good cleanse, has a block debuffs and a shield. He has block debuffs for 2 turns, granted on a 4-turn cooldown, but that's solid. He's got a chance of stealing a buff from each enemy. This is a very good steal ability. There's not many epic stealing on AoEs. Skathix, Ulfrig, Not that many others, maybe like the one other, right? So very good. Decreased speed, big version on the A1 as well. Great option for you guys. No one who I love here for Haruspex is a reviver. So if you're struggling and people are dying and you really need a reviver, Haruspex is going to be a great option. The cool thing is, I probably should have mentioned at the top of the video too, you don't have to take all these champions to max, you know? You can use Haruspex as a tanky reviver at level 50 and you'll be just fine. Same thing with like a lot of revivers in this game, right? Skinwalkers, a lot of revivers in this game as it pertains to Faction Wars. No one who I'm seeing that you can easily get for free here in Skinwalkers. I wouldn't say Marius isn't easy. I'm saying you could probably get him before or finish Faction Wars before you get him. Go down to Skinwalker Epics. Man, this is a rough crop here, guys. There's some standouts, but there's not a lot. Let's see. Horafy is going to be your reviver, right? He's a newish, not new, but within the last year or two, right? They added him. It's massive. Skinwalkers really needed an accessible reviver, and now we have one. A really solid reviver. He's got increased crit rate, increased attack as well. He's got a lot of HP. My man, the big Rhino, Walrus, Rhino. Whatever he is, I love this dude. He's a really solid champion. Steel Skull is an old school champion who's been power crept a bit, but he's one of the fastest epics in the game, and he's still got good support, especially for Faction Wars. He's got a cleanse, he's got a good heal, he's got increased defense, and a heal on the A3 on a 4-turn cooldown. He also has that defense in Faction Crypts to use as your aura lead. He's got some poison on the A1. This guy, Bovos, and I thought about recommending him. I haven't played enough with him yet to recommend. I kept him, right? He's going to have the AoE ×3 with the Hex, and then the poison, and then he's attacking everybody under Hex when they take damage from poison. He also has speed in all battles, right? Akemtum's going to be a great debuffer. He's also going to be a great damage dealer for you, right? And then Frenzy, the Cackler, excuse me. Kind of like the little hyena from like Lion King is what I think of when I think of Frenzy. Very, very good, but avoid, HP burn, single target, going to be good for the red boss to kill the red boss, right? When we look at the rares here, I would say Gnarlhorn, as I mentioned, if you're struggling with the waves, my man's got you. A provoke on a 3-turn cooldown, right? He very best provoker by far, best control by far out of rares, right? Greybeard is also campaign farmable. My man's got an AoE freeze on a 3-turn cooldown when booked, and he's got a shield on himself, a counterattack on himself. Counterattack leads to more provokes from his A1, right? So he also has defense in dungeons by 30%. Very good aura. And as I mentioned, Greybeard is campaign farmable. So definitely worth going for. If you're looking for a debuffer, Fleshmonger has an AoE decreased defense. It's on a 4-turn cooldown, but it's a decent rate, 75% with a sniper mastery, 80%. So you could do a lot worse there. Lammerburg, if you're struggling to heal, right? He has an AoE with a continuous heal on all allies, and then another heal with a revive on death on a 5-turn cooldown. He's not a strong recommendation, but definitely a take him to level 50 and just build him tanky and help your team survive. You do not have to go, for the 5th time, do not have to go and max out everybody in Faction Wars. Orcs, nobody. I'm sorry if I missed somebody who's super accessible. Obviously, like if you have an Artak, you're using him, but nobody who's like a farm me up nice and easy option here. Duck the Pierce, very, very good. He's got Provoke on his A3, some control for you guys. He's got defense and faction crits by 31%, good aura lead. And then he's your debuffer, right? Decrease attack and decrease defense on each critical hit on the A1 on a 3-turn cooldown. He's got decreased accuracy and he's defense-based. He's easy to keep alive. This dude is worth taking to level 60. Tagore! Oh, Tagore! My favorite epic reviver in the game. He feels legendary. He's got the AoE revive with the shield based on his max HP on a 5-turn cooldown, got an AoE attack, got the big version of increased speed. He's got a heal based on his max HP, all on a 3-turn cooldown. He's got an increased defense for 2 turns on the ally with lowest HP on the A1. He's got damage mitigation on his passive, and he's got HP in all battles by 25%. He's so freaking good, man. He is very, he's a must, to me, he's a must max, excuse me, for everybody in the damn game. I think he's that good. Vraska's a good healer. He's fallen off a little bit, but he's still a competent healer. You can use him at level 50, no masteries, no books. That's the nice thing about Vrask. Just throw him in there, Every time he lands a critical hit, he heals, right? Based on his max HP, excuse me. So you build him with a lot of HP. It scales very well. Don't do anything else. Don't even invest in that champion at all. Sandlash Survivor, very good. She got the AoE. She got the increased duration of buffs, increase the duration of all buffs, ally buffs, enemy buff. You guys get the point. You can read it. And then she has ally protection on all allies on a 4-turn cooldown when any ally's HP drops below 50%, right? That's a passive, by the way. And she also has defense in all battles by 25%. Sandlash is very, very good for faction wars. Yelagurnia is pretty dang good. She's got an AoE decrease attack, which is a very fundamental, necessary debuff to have. And then she has a block buffs and a block active skills. It's always critical. And then revives a random ally with 50% HP every time she kills a champion. She hits pretty hard, right? So, you know, she's not my favorite, but she's pretty dang serviceable, I would say. Seer is amazing anywhere. Karma Burn does so much damage. She's great. You guys know Seer. And then Tuok the Wanderer. Good damage dealer, even better control. AoE decreased speed. Very good. 3-turn cooldown, big version. He's healing himself. He's keeping himself alive. He has a 2-turn stun and a 50% turn meter fill on a 3-turn cooldown. This guy, I've said it so many times, so underrated, man. So good. So underrated. He's a great main damage dealer to run in faction wars, right? I don't particularly love any of the orc rares. Ironclad's interesting, you know, with a heal synergy and a stun set or something like that. But that's about it here. Let's move on to Demonspawn. All right, Demonspawn time, guys. So Allure is actually pretty dang good. Her Psychic Whip, her control, the same reason she's great for Fire Knight, for Dark Fae. She's great with the turn meter control. She can also be a debuffer, granted the weak version, but she's got that as well. Her Hellish Blaze, for an ability that ignores 50% defense, is not anything to write home about. I generally just turn it off, but she's still serviceable for sure. Then we have Magnar. I mean, how can I not mention Magnar? One of the strongest epic nukers inside the entire game. You gotta love Magnar. He also has a debuff spread as well. He hits so freaking hard. Dur the Hunger. He's a reviver, man. Where was Dur the Hunger when I was around, man? When I was working on faction wars, I didn't have a reviver, and it was really, really tough. Demonspawn was my last faction war cleared. Dur the Hunger revives 2 random allies, fills a turn meter. I mean, what better way to progress in faction wars if you're dying than having somebody to undie your team, right? To undie your team. He also has a reflect damage and a continuous heal and a heal. Very, very good support reviver here in an epic Dur the Hunger. Again, like not new, brand new, but he's a good one in the last couple years. Achak is a good option because he's got an AoE freeze or a burn. He also has a block debuffs and a strengthen. He also has heals and turn meter fill on the passive. We know him, or we think about Spider when we think about him, but he's a lot, you know, I should say he's versatile in other areas than just that. 2 or 3 more here. Umbral Enchantress. She got the 2-turn provoke, and she has block bust for 3 turns on a 3-turn cooldown, and she can deal some damage for a defense-based control champion. Very, very good for control. And then the 2, I have to give some old school shout outs here, because the 2 epics that I relied on the most back in my day was Tanix Hateflower. That's right, Tanix. She was one of my only healers. Seeker Bolt on her A1, and we get her for free, you know? You get her for free as a daily login, probably before you actually cleared, you know, the time on your account that you've actually cleared these faction wars, especially Demonspawn, so hard. Unless you have like a Duchess, right? Heals all allies by 3% of this champion's HP for each hit on targets under decreased speed. And then she has the decreased speed on all targets for 2 turns if it's critical on a 3-turn cooldown. I love decreased speed, but I love the heal, especially if you need it on the Seeker Bolts. So she was actually a big part of my team. Tanix Hateflower. She's definitely not a game changer, but she can be a game changer for faction wars for sure. And then Infernal Baroness. In a stun set, she's great, and she has a heal. It's not a big one. It's the ally with the lowest HP, but it's an AoE. So again, in a stun set, she has 2 AoEs with decreased attack, and she's defense-based, so she's fairly easy to keep alive. She has a perfect veil as well on her A3. So those are some of my faves. There's some good ones that I didn't mention, but those are some of my faves for sure. I love me some Abyssal, guys. AoE on the A1, great for a stun set, same reasons as Soulbound Bowyer, but he also has block buffs, which can help you out on those waves. He's got a heal on the A2, and hey, increase defense, increase attack on the same ability. It's on a 4-turn cooldown. It's the weak version of the buffs, but as I always say, the weak version of the buffs, just like on Bellower, only debuffs on him, is better than no version of these buffs or debuffs, right? Abyssal is a very robust champion, and he also has speed and faction crypts on the aura, so you can use him as a speed aura lead. A lot of people sleep on Abyssal. I really like this dude. It took me about a year or two to actually appreciate what he brings to the table, but he's very, very good. I think he's very good. Petrifia is pretty solid. She's got an AoE ×2 on a 3-turn cooldown, decrease attack, and a poison. It's 100% land rate, weak version of the decrease attack, but it's still pretty dang good. And then we have a 3-time at random, great for the red boss, poison sensitivity and poison, as well as a decreased defense on the A1. Very good there. And then Diabolist. I like Diabolist. She's squishy, 782, but she's campaign farmable. You can use Diabolist, especially in the early game. If you're a new player watching this video, go ahead and farm her from the last stage, I want to say, of campaign. Get your hands on her. You'll have an increased speed on a 3-turn cooldown, and you'll have a turn meter fill and a turn meter depletion on the positive charge A3. It's a very miniature version of like a Lysandra type ability on the A3. And she's very fast. 110 base speed. That's very good. Those are my faves. Fellhound, of course, is going to be a great campaign farmer. He also has an AoE, decreased speed, continuous heal, reflect damage on all allies on a 2-turn cooldown. Yeah, Fellhound, we think about him as only a campaign farmer, but he's definitely a very serviceable faction war champion as well. Undead Horde. No one, you know who I forgot earlier, and probably people commented on an hour ago and left the video, but Yakarl the Scourge is a fragment clan boss, or not clan boss, a fragment clan shop champion as well, who's definitely worth going for. So shout out to the 3 of you who are still watching.
This roller skating kid is really good. Don't you think that?
I don't think I'm forgetting anybody who's super easily obtainable, although Euros is a Doomtower hard champion that you don't get it right away, but he's very good. If you have UDK, obviously you're using him as well. Gorgorab is a reviver, man. He's an old school dude, but he's still got it. He's got a revive. He's got a heal. The heal will happen even if nobody's dead. And he's going to increase attack with a turn meter fill, right? He also has speed in arena battles, which he was actually a popular speed lead in the arena when I started playing. Like, it was a lot of Gorgorab. Anybody remember those days? Seeker's great. Seeker's incredible. He's got one of the best turn meter boosts in the entire game, if not the best. Why? Because he has a 3-turn cooldown with a 30% turn meter boost with an extra turn. He's able to get back to this so quickly. Very, very, very good champion. Plus, he's got great support with the increased defense on his passive. Heals his champion by 20%, plays an increased defense on all allies when he's hit with a critical hit, right? It is on a 5-turn cooldown, but it's nice. He also has a provoke on his A1. There's a lot of good Undead Horde champions here, guys. I'll give a few other shout-outs. Dark Elhain, we get her for free, and she's very good. She also has an AoE decreased speed, 75% chance on a 3-turn cooldown. Vogoth is one of the best epic healers in the game, and it's all through his passive. You can build him slow and tanky, throw him in a shield set, throw him in a bolster set. He also has a leech on the attacker. He also has a provoke. He's a very good champion. He's a triple hitter on this A1. There's a lot to love about Vogoth. He's a very, very good all-around support champion. And Mausoleum Mage is probably the best all-around support champion for epics out there, or at least in the conversation. Increased crit rate, increased defense, and a block debuffs on a 3-turn cooldown with the cleanse and a heal and a decreased speed on the A1. To this day, Mausoleum Mage remains one of the best epic supports in the game. So definitely deserves a shout out there. Anax is good single target debuffer. Those are my faves. If you're looking for an ally attacker, you got Catacomb Counselor over here. Husk, obviously, is pretty good because of his stun. He doesn't deal a ton of damage. I guess he'll deal damage against the red boss, but not against waves. Definitely help you out with a stun, though, as well for some control. If you're looking to stun, look no further than Campaign Farmable Banshee. She's got an AoE on the A1, decreased defense as well. AoE on the A2, chance of removing a buff from the target. You can shut off the A3, don't need it. So in a stun set, you could do a lot worse there. Frozen Banshee, good for poison sensitivity. You guys know Frozen Banshee. And then we have... I think that's probably about it. You could consider a Doom Screech. He's got a great turn meter fill and an increased defense, big version on a 3-turn cooldown. What more do you want, man? Doom Screech, the little bat, Seeker's little cousin over here, right? He's pretty good too. Let's keep it going here. Let's go to Dark Elves, guys. Dark Elves. Well, obviously we talked about Mithrala, if you're lucky enough to have her, right?
Show off.
Anybody else who's super easily accessible here? I wouldn't say so. I'm trying to stay away from as many legendaries as we can. Dark Elf Epics. Dark Hail. I mean, come on. Dark Hail's great because he's putting poisons and he's activating them, right? He has poisons or HP burns instantly activated off the A1 ability. He's got an AoE decrease attack for damage mitigation, poison points of sensitivity, and he can mitigate critical hits on his passive. He's got a lot going on there. Ryan the Conjurer, a great reviver. She's Doom Tower farmable, of course, as well. She can remove buffs. She can place weaken. Very, very solid. Very solid there. Dirindil is a great nuker. He's my favorite nuker out of all Dark Elf epics by far. Who else here that I could give a strong recommendation to? Sylar and Lua. Again, I'm not going to go super hard on the Voids and Madame Ceres for that matter. They're all good, though. They're all good. Crimson Helm is good at level 50. I wouldn't take her above level 50. I wish there was an AoE provoke, but it is a high percentage provoke on a 4-time at random. She has a revive on death and increased defense, albeit on a 4-turn. But if you're looking for some, a tanky 1531 base defense, a pretty tanky option early on, look no further. Captain Tamila, kind of the same thing. Increased defense and a heal. It is on a 3-turn cooldown. She also has an ally protect on a 4-turn cooldown. So Captain Tamila is actually good. She's just very slow. Oh, she's not too bad. 96 speed. I thought she was a little bit slower. I actually like Captain Tamila a bit more than Crimson Helm after refreshing myself. But the biggest one is Caden, the man in blue, or the Blue Knight here. This guy's a boss. He's one of your best options for Dark Elves because he's got a revive with 2 allies, a very good revive. 4-turn cooldown, 2 random allies, 50% HP, and the big version of increased defense to help keep them alive. There's one thing to revive champions. It's another thing to keep them alive after you do. He also has damage mitigation, so make sure you build him with accuracy to get this big version of decreased attack on 100% 3-turn cooldown. Very, very solid there. All right. If you don't have Caden, but you have Fang Cleric and you need a reviver, build Fang Cleric to level 50, and he has a revive on a 4-turn cooldown. He also has a good heal on his A2. Judge I like. He's a good debuffer, but he's very squishy. So honorable mention. Kale, Coltar, they're great. Painkeeper's a great healer. Great option to kind of fill out your team in Painkeeper. I think she's one of those champions that can fit in almost any sort of team. There's some decent champions here like Spirit Host, but I personally would not recommend investing in any of the other rares for Faction Wars. I think you can do better even if you hold out a little bit for some of those epics. Knight's Revenant. Eric's you get after like 630 days or something, you get her for free as a daily login, but you're probably already going to be handling Knight's Revenant Faction Wars, even though Knight's Revenant can be tricky. The biggest one here is going to be, I just want to make sure again. Nah, we're good there. We're good. Yeah, we're good on all these. Rector Drath. I have a download link for new accounts for Rector Drath. I'll try to remember to leave it in the description of this video if you want to start out with a brand new Tayrel and Rector Drath. I'll have that link for you guys. But Rector Drath is probably my 4th favorite I'm really splitting hairs here. Fourth favorite reviver out of all epics behind Godseeker and Yuri, Tagore, and Ursula the Mourner. She got a solid revive, 60% turn meter, 60% HP, and a perfect veil for 3 turns. It's a lot of survivability, but most importantly, on top of the revive, she has a decreased attack, she has a heal, she has a perfect veil, she has continuous heals, she got more heals under the passive, she's super fast at 109 speed. She's gonna be your best bet to get through Knight's Revenant, in my opinion. Doom Priest is great with the cleanse, with the heal. Simple kit, but very effective kit. Skullcrown and Sinesha. Specifically, Skullcrown we talk about for, you know, Arena, and she's a great damage dealer everywhere. Nothing against her, but I prefer Sinesha when it comes to Faction Wars. She got an AoE on the A1. You can put her in a stun set. She has a Lockout, Vaporize on the A2. A good heal as well there, and she has a great heal in Immortality. A great support, control, damage. You can build her however you need her to be, right? Who else? Doom Priest, Miscreated. Dude, my man Frank still has it, guys. This guy's still a GOAT. He's got Ally Protect. He's got continuous heals. He's got control whenever anybody under the Ally Protect is attacked. He's got a stun on the A1. And my man has a great shield based on the damage dealt and a stun on the A2 on an AoE on a 3-turn cooldown. Frank was introduced 2019 Halloween. A lot of HP too. 2019 Halloween. And he's still a very, very good support champion in a few key areas. Faction Wars, Ice Golem, anywhere you're going to be incurring a lot of damage because of that great shield that he has. Spider, because of the more targets, the better, right? Because of that shield. I want to give a Sepulchre Sentinel. Very good. Increased defense, block debuffs, 2 turns on both on a 4-turn. Great option there. Thylesia is a great debuffer. You can use her in other areas. 2 AoEs in her kit as well. Golden Reaper is a serviceable increased speed option for your team. Malkith is a newish champion. He's interesting. He's got an AoE, decreased duration of enemy buffs, increased duration of ally buffs. You guys know how much I love those abilities. And then he's got a revive, another 2 reviver option, kind of like the Knight's Revenant version of Caden, a little bit different in his kit, but it's a revive 2. It's a weaker revive for sure, but it's a revive nonetheless. So definitely, if you need a reviver, look no further than Malkith Bloodflock. Again, a new addition to the game and a much needed one in the game, right? I love Executioner and I love Ashwalker and I love Turox. There's a lot of other decent rares, but in terms of Faction War progression, Walker has a stun and a turn meter control and an AoE weaken and a stun on the no, it doesn't have a stun on the A1. I'm wrong, but he does have speed in all battles. Granted, a little small one, but it's still speed in all battles. A good aura that you can use, you know, obviously in Cursed City as well. Turox is very good. Defense-based rare with an AoE. Increased defense on all allies. Weak version, but increased defense nonetheless. And a Provoke. Pretty dang good champion. Has some nice block damage and counterattacking capability as well, which leads him into more leeches. And again, as a defense-based champion, he's easy to keep this dude alive, right? Executioner, I love Executioner, man. Defense-based, rare champion, old school, AoE, turn meter, 20% reduction, and a decreased speed. Weak version, but decreased speed nonetheless. 3-turn cooldown, has a counterattack, increased defense on himself on the A3. Very selfish ability, but he's placing those stuns on the counterattack. So nice synergy there as well. He also has defense in all battles, which you can get some nice utility out of, even beyond Faction Wars, such as the rare restrictive content in Secret Rooms or in Cursed City. So those are some of my faves there. Let's keep it moving here to Dwarves. Dwarves, I think, is probably... Again, it all depends on who you have and who you don't have, right? But I think Dwarves is one of the most difficult. Back in my day, Dwarves was my second to last faction that I completed. I remember I had to build like 2 or 3 rearguard sergeants back in the day because, you know, half of these champions didn't exist back then, you know? There was no Morag, there was no Geomancer, there was no Isabel, there was no Melga, there was no Demitha, Flyja, none of these, Cornelia, none of them existed, you know? I had to go with Grizzled Jarl, who's actually still great, right? He's got the increased defense, the block debuffs, right? On a 3-turn cooldown, the AoE decreased attack as well. He's kind of a jack of all trades, master of none. He's a really, really underrated epic. Rearguard is still a good option, I would say. She has a faction HP and force HP in all battles by 33%. All right, not a great option probably unless you have a lot of force on your team. But hey, you might not have another aura to even use, right? Ally Protect, continuous heal on all allies on a 3-turn cooldown. I mentioned the best ally protectors. I talked about Frogman. I talked about, who was I even initially talking about? Don't get old, you forget everything. But Rearguard belongs on that list too. Is a really good one, right? Ally Protect, continuous heal, and an AoE decrease attack. As I said, I have to this day, I have 2 or 3 Rearguard Sergeants built because that's what got me through. And a Grizzled Jarl, that was my squad, you know? I think I had a legendary at the time. Maybe a Mountain King or something, I don't know. But speaking of legendaries, are there any here that are super accessible? Not really, no. Demitha. I mean, she's void. I want to try to shy away from the voids, but she's got a great heal potential here on the Light of the Deep. Increased duration, decreased duration, one of those abilities, and a block damage continuous heal on a 3-turn cooldown, and defense in all battles on the aura. She's very, very powerful. You guys know that. Geo is certainly not bad, man. Geo's Geo, right? He's going to be great against the red boss. He's got an AoE decreased accuracy. He's got the remove buffs. He's got a very competent kit, even outside of his passive with the A3 synergy, right? So Geo's great. Morag's fantastic. The only epic in the game with an AoE big version of Strengthen on a 3-turn cooldown. That's it. Morag Bronze Luck. And she also has the Raider Captain, which is a 4-turn ally attack. It's only 2 allies, but it's still powerful for an epic, you know? A lot of people sleep on Morag. I am not one of them. Always love that champion. She's defense based too, so she's nice and tanky. Man, there's actually a lot of really good ones here because I'm still going. Rockbreaker. He was my guy. That was my 5th champion. Rockbreaker was the key to me completing Dwarf Faction Wars, guys. He's got an escalating defense on his A1. On his A2, he has 100% provoke and a counterattack, which leads into increasing his defense. But most importantly, he has a 50% chance of decreasing damage inflicted on this champion by 50% each time this champion is attacked. The red boss for Dwarves hits very hard. You can keep this dude alive, make him like a defensive monster. He'll help you through the waves as well. And he's just going to be for a lot of people, even at level 50, super tank with some accuracy, he's going to be what gets you through Faction Wars. He was for me. Melga Steel Girdle, she's the 2 reviver. You can see how there's trying to add, we talked about it with Malkith on Knight's Revenant. You can see how they're trying to Dur the Hunger, Caden. These are all newish additions to the game. They're giving these Revive 2 options. We forgot talking about Jorg as well. Is it Old Man Jorg? Old Man Jurg? He's really good too, an Orc. I should have shouted him out earlier. But she has the 2 Revive as well. It's not a great Revive at all, but she's very good for Faction Wars. And the cool thing about Melga too, is you don't have to max her out. Take her to level 50, build her tanky, use her as a reviver, build her with as much HP as possible. She has a good scalability. She has a continuous heal on a 3-turn cooldown and a shield based on her HP. You don't need to max her out. You don't even need to get masteries on her, right? So a great option there. Runekeeper Dazdirk. Again, I'm not going to go super heavy because he's a void, but he's very good. Turn meter fill, increase attack, and a cleanse with continuous heals. Any dwarf, of course, there's going to be one that you guys already know who it is. I'm actually going to give it 2 shout-outs here. I'm going to give it to Avir the Alchmage, right? He's not a game changer. I don't think he's a game changer. Some people are very high on this little dwarf, but he's good for Faction Wars for sure. AoE, decrease attack, decrease speed on targets under poison. He does have poison on his A1. But his vitalizing potions is very good. Fills a turn meter of all allies and heals all allies based on his max HP. So you can stack them with HP and as much speed as you can. Speed scales pretty well, and it can be a pretty dang good healer for you because dwarves are actually lacking good healers, right? So he can be a serviceable healer for your team. There's a lot of decent dwarf rares here, but I have to give it to Kurzar Depart. You guys know how much I love this dude. He's very squishy, but he can be a great damage dealer for you, help you get through the waves. and he has an increased accuracy and a decreased defense on a 3-turn cooldown. He's going to help kill everybody faster, and he's going to help everybody else land their debuffs with the increased accuracy on all allies on a 3-turn cooldown. All right, let's move it on here, guys, to Shadowkin. I think we'll be under an hour, hopefully. Who we have here? Nobody super accessible that I'm seeing here, unfortunately, because there's some really good ones here. So moving on to the Shadowkin, we talked about Taragi. I mentioned his Ally Protect. It's very good. It's on a 3-turn cooldown. He really does feel very close to a legendary and an epic skin here. We have an AoE Provoke. Chances increases by 5% for each debuff on the enemy team. He has a decreased attack on his A1, and he has poisons every time he's hit. Can be great against bosses, can even be helpful against wave content as well. But he's pretty tanky with 22k HP, and he's got a great shield and Ally Protect, great for survivability and some damage to boot. Hatatsu, very good. Defense in all battles. He's got the decreased attack. He's got the increased defense on a 3-turn cooldown and the continuous heal on the 3-turn cooldown. He's got a leech on the A1, and he's immune to CC debuffs on a 3-turn cooldown. He's one of my favorite supports out there and very, very underrated. Nagario is my favorite epic nuker outside of Genbo. But even for PvE, I would give it to Nagario. I would give it to Genbo in the arena. So if I'm running Faction Wars, I'm running Nagario if I have him. He's going to be my nuker. Let's see. Sachi's pretty dang good. You can put her in a stun set for some control on the A1. She has a decreased crit rate and a leech, excuse me, which can be good against the red boss specifically, right? Decreased crit rate is going to mitigate critical hits against Shadowkin red boss, which is really important. And leech will help keep everybody alive. Then she has a turn meter fill. I think Sachi's really, really good. Revives a random ally 30% HP whenever this champion kills an enemy if you're struggling with the waves as well. Who else here, guys? Kunichi is a ally attacker. I was getting her confused with somebody else. Who am I? Oh, King Agashi. There we go. This is your reviver for Shadowkin. Revives an ally 50% HP, 50% turn meter, increased defense on that ally for 2 turns. A very good revive. It's a 4-turn cooldown. It's only 1 target, but you can keep him alive on recall from death. She has like a very weak ally attack. It's only 1 random ally, but you get a turn meter fill. I feel like a lot of people hold that against her, that it's 1 random ally. But when you think about it, look at like a Gorgorab. He's got an increased attack and a turn meter fill, right? You know, she's not as good as him, frankly, but she's unique enough, and you can build her again at level 50, right? Easily level 50, level 40 in the early game, right? All you need is her to revive, right? To be there to revive your squad. So that's going to be your reviver that you're going to be looking at in the Shadowkin. You always want to try to target a reviver, right? I like Masamoto, a defense-based Shadowkin epic that I would take to 50 as well. I wouldn't max out. Increased defense on all allies, fills a turn meter of all allies. If you don't have Hatatsu, I would go with Masamoto. Also an AoE decrease attack. Underrated Shadowkin support there. Obviously, Aborio is good for damage. I think that Wuji is an interesting champion as well for a DPS. If you're looking for a nuker, an AoE with block buffs. So you can kind of control the buffs as well on those waves. And a perfect veil and counterattack leads into more weakens. But when she's counterattacking, she will go with an AoE attack, right? So you can do some pretty cool things with Wuji. You can even put her in a stun set if you want to. So those are going to be, there's some other good ones that I kind of left off the list, but those are my faves personally, right? Burangiri too. The thing about Burangiri is he has good control. He's pretty tanky. He's got a strengthen on all allies on a 4-turn cooldown, but a strengthen and a shield, good survivability. So if I didn't have a Taragi, if I didn't have a Hatsu, or maybe even in addition to a Hatsu, I feel like you can invest in Burangiri. You can also use him in areas like Bommel, right? So I think that Burangiri definitely belongs on that list as well as a defense-based champion too. Pretty easy to keep alive. I'm actually not a massive fan of any of the rares except for Odachi. Odachi. He's a defense-based rare. He doesn't have a lot of defense. He's kind of slow, but he does have an AoE shield, right, on himself. And then he has a block debuffs and an increased defense on all allies on a 3-turn cooldown. If you're looking for a block debuff that can be hard to find in Shadowkin, you can invest in Odachai. I would not personally take him. He has a provoke on the A1 too. I personally wouldn't take him all the way to 60 though. He gets a lot of love, but I think he's capped a bit in his potential overall. Okay, Sylvan Watchers, the newest, obviously, faction war in the game. Probably an area where a lot of people struggle because they don't have as many champions in this area as they do of other factions that have been around longer in the game. Nobody's super accessible here. You know who I forgot earlier too? Sorry, guys. Drexstar Blood Twin, man. Someone's going to comment like, you forgot Drexstar Blood Twin, you idiot. And then somebody's going to respond to that for me and say, oh, he mentioned it at the end. He forgot. Cut him some slack.
That was not scripted.
Anyway, yeah, Drexstar you can get in Tag Team Arena, right? That's a reason to do your Tag Team Arena. In the Bazaar, you can get champion fragments for Drexstar. He'll be a good killer. He's self-sustainable because of the heal on the A1. You want to go with War Master to get more heal off the A1. And then he's got the AoE provoke. So sorry for missing him as well, guys. Back to Sylvan Watchers. Yeah, nothing here for the legendaries that are accessible. So we're rocking just these Sylvan Watcher epics. Okay, let's talk about him. Kellen's okay for a damage dealer. He's got a decreased speed for the red boss, a perfect veil on himself, and an AoE with decent damage. But he's not my fave. He can deal some decent damage, but he's not my fave. Cryoid in the blue is going to be like the #1 guy that you can go for here. If you have him, congratulations. You already know how good he is. Triple hitter with a great clip, 35% chance of landing that freeze. Very good. An AoE with more freeze. Definitely one of the best control epic in the game. I don't think I'm going too far on a limb in saying that. He also brings increased speed and a turn meter fill on a 3-turn cooldown. You put all that together, and you're looking at a very, very robust support, speed booster, and control all in one. He's my fave. The dude isn't that bad either, honestly. He's got an AoE and a shield, and then he's got a taunt, strengthen, and a counterattack on himself, right? He can remove buffs as well. He's not my fave, but I would take dude to level 50 personally. I really like Pan for a nuker only. I'm not sure if I would take him to 60. He's got an AoE, increased speed on himself, and he's got a pretty hard-hitting A3 as well, with some control built in there. Who else do we... let's see. Dothy is the GOAT, right? One of the better debuffers out there. So Dothy, Mr. Rider Dothy, and Ruella. More so on Dothy, personally. I think this is a guy you can take all the way to 60 because I guarantee you'll be using him somewhere in the end game. There's a lot of restrictive content in Curse City that use him in Curse City hard. So a lot of people build multiple copies of this dude. He's that good. An AoE decreased defense, an extra turn if you place it. It's on a 4-turn cooldown, but you have extra turn on the A2. You have extra turn on the A1 potential, and you have an extra turn on the A3. So what says a 4-turn cooldown is really a lot less. Don't get deterred. He has an increased attack, increased accuracy, extra turn. You go back into it, you do more. Solid damage, solid debuffs, and a lot of turns out of that dude, right? My Celiac Priest Orn. Really love this dude. He's super tanky, right? He's got the AoE. He's got the AoE burn. I'm sorry, AoE poison sensitivity. My bad. This dude's literally all about poison mushrooms, and I'm calling him a burner here, right? I see the HP, and I immediately go burn, burn, burn. Burn, baby, burn. Burn, 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 burn. Not now. Sorry, I just wanted to bother you one more time. Poison on the A1. Poison on the A2, instant activation, excuse me, on the A2. Great for, you know, for quick kills. And then another AoE with poison and poison sensitivity. He can get the job done. He can solo content as well. So my Celiac Priest Orn is a really good option to invest in multiple areas of the game. Ruella, we mentioned, she's a single target attacker, but she's got triple hitters on both A1 and A2, and a turn meter fill, increased crit rate on the A3. She's particularly very fast, 112 base speed, and very good in Fire Knight as well. So you have a need in Fire Knight just getting more hits on that Fire Knight. You could put Phantom Touch if you have her awakened, get even more hits, and, you know, she'll help you out there, and she'll help you out a bit in Faction Wars. No AoE, though, so to consider that as well. Wenrian is going to be your reviver. So, Wyrian? I struggle with some names, sorry. But we talk about revivers in every faction. She's going to be your option. She's the only epic that I actually don't have in Sylvan Watchers, I want to say. She revives an ally with a continuous heal on the ally for 2 turns. She also has a turn meter fill and an increased speed on a 4-turn cooldown. She also has speed and faction crypt. She can be your speed lead. So definitely worth taking to 50. As a general rule, for Faction Wars specifically, I am taking the champions to level 50, and then I'm making the decision if I want to take them to 60, like as I progress a bit, right? Test them out. Faction Wars is the perfect area to test out your champions. White Dryad Naya, though, she might be a 60. She's a void, but an AoE decreased speed. She's a defense-based champion, so she's nice and tanky. She can reset cooldowns. She can heal. She can cleanse. She can ally protect. Man, another ally protector that I should have put in there. She's one of the goats. She's one of the goats as well. She'll be a huge help to anybody who has her. Ayela's kind of interesting, but I'm not sure. I don't know. She got block debuffs for 2 turns on a 4-turn. She's got a heal. She's got increased accuracy and a sleep. She's not bad, but her passive is cool. Rhythmic Flow. 12% chance of activating an instant turn effect on this champion or an ally after using an active skill. Instant turn means just that. They get a turn immediately. She's pretty fun, right? She's pretty fun to use in combination with White Dryad Naya. Instant turns, reset cooldowns, more turns, you know, some cool stuff that you can do there. I have a brand new uncommon here. She's got a decreased speed on an AoE, and she's got an increased speed on the ally with the highest turn meter, except this champion. Weak version. Interesting. I think she's an all right little uncommon. Yeah, not bad. All right, back to it. I think that Tree Shield Knot is probably the best rare support in the game, right there with Reliquary Tender. He's the only rare in the game that can revive more than 1 ally. Revive 2 allies on one ability, obviously. Put a shield on them equal to 20% of their max HP. It's not the strongest revive, 25%, 25, pretty weak. But he's a rare, and it's 2 allies, right? He has speed and faction crypts, and he has a heal and increased defense on a 3-turn cooldown. Weak version, but 3-turn cooldown and the heal. Sign me up. I released a video. It's a good time to check it out because we're at the end of this video. I released a video about the best all-rare team in the game that I could assemble, and he was on it. He was my reviver, and he's exceptionally good. I do have to give a shout-out to 2 others, though. Shadowbow Turlak has an increased speed on a 3-turn cooldown, weak version, but increased speed nonetheless. He's defense-based, he's easy to keep alive, and he has a Veil on all allies. That'll mitigate AoE damage by 7.5%. Moreover, they can't be targeted. He also has a shield, so it's a very good support buffer type option. And Pathfinder Kate, last but not least, she has a chance of increasing cooldowns of random skills. A nice little control here on her A2. Sometimes I use her in a stun set and magic-only, you know, rare-only content. I don't think you need to take her to level 60 on Pathfinder Kate, but neither do I think you need to take Turlock to level 60, but Tree Shield you absolutely can. Guys, I hope some of you found this video helpful. Tried to make it faction war oriented, but I feel like everybody can take away because we talked about a lot of good epic and rare champions in this video. Anyway, guys, that is going to do it. Thank you so much for watching, and as always, take care, guys.